Evening, everyone. Welcome to another workshop, AI workshop. I hope you guys are excited because we're actually winding down, and next week we'll be having our next or final workshop. So, it's all about the passion. It's passion that brought us here because we recognize that there is a lot that we can do with technology, and as a community, we definitely can strive together. All right, so I'm hoping that passion led all of you guys here, and let's now jump into who we are. Now, this is essentially who we are. We definitely look into contributing to society through the use of technology, because that's what we are all about. We're all about computers. We're all about, using technology to make life simpler. So whether it is that you're working remotely, whether it is that you're working at the office, this is essentially a good community to be a part of, where we encourage each and every one of us to learn and to earn as they learn and grow their skills and talents. This is also an era where we get an opportunity to collaborate, and these are all the various communities that are here in Jamaica. So whether it is that you're interested in Flutter, whether it is that you're interested in Docker, whether it is that you're interested in WordPress, we have a lot Python, we have a lot of different communities here in the Caribbean and in Jamaica for you guys to get a part of, to grow your skills, to rub shoulders with like-minded persons, and who knows, maybe even start a revolutionary software solution, maybe create this fantastic design um, for a website, anything at all that it is any area of computing that you're involved in. We have a community here for you. Now, here is what we have on our agenda for today and upcoming events. So next week is actually going to be our final workshop, as you said, for this year, and we will be having the hackathon, the AI hackathon, on September 23rd, and we'll be beginning at 9 a.m. And of course, more details on the hackathon we'll be mentioning some more details on the hackathon at the end of the presentation, when we get into the whole question and answer and discussion. Just building a vibes, getting to know each other. So if it is that after the presentation, which we'll be having Kevante Brown, after his presentation, we'll be having some discussion and some questions where we can ask him some questions around what he has presented on, as well as maybe just questions around the community or some of our community events. So this is essentially our agenda for today, and a little insight as to some of the activities coming up in the future. So here's a little bit about Kevante. He was a part of the robotics team that represented Jamaica in Dubai. So he's actually very much involved in technology. He's been involved with robotics for about 4 years now. And we definitely would want to see how it is that he can impart some of his knowledge that he has garnered over the 4 years with us. So hopefully, solve some problem, maybe even find a way where we can introduce AI into or Jamaican context into the Caribbean to make life work easier. And of course, we recognize that he's from St. Diego. Big up all the St. Diego massive. All right. And of course, now we're going to hand over to Kevante. Kevante, are you ready to present? Kevante, you're muted. Let me just do a double check with him. I don't know if we're having it appears we're having some amount of technical difficulties.
Sorry about that. Everybody hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear, Kevante.
All right, so I can start now?
Yeah, man.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, I've been involved in robotics for quite some time. Actually, I'm currently working with Series Robotics. It is basically a startup company that is involved in expanding upon the agricultural industry in Jamaica, planning on automated through drones and robotics. So that's quite an interesting venture. But today I would just like to get into the topic at hand today, which is the utilization of image models. So I'll be going through image scraping, image generating, image labeling, training a model, and deploying a model. So essentially, before I start off, I would just like to talk about just data in general. So data is a very powerful tool that most people, like all of us, use every day on a daily basis. Information and data, the way how it is manipulated, it's very important. It's very integral to our way of life. But before you can manipulate and translate that data, you need to actually collect that data, which brings me nicely into our topic, image scraping. So essentially, image scraping is one of many ways you can actually collect data. In reality, you could actually just collect data by just, specifically images. You could just take pictures of the thing that you want and it'll be in the end of it. But obviously, that's very time consuming and we don't really like that. So, because we're lazy, we are going to find a better solution to that. So image scraping is a technique used to extract image data from web sources in various formats. That would include JPEG, PNG, and even GIF. And this is a completely automated process implemented using libraries such as Beautiful Soup, which is the one I'm using today, and No Code Scraper. Actually, before you can get into this, I'm going to show you the packages that you actually would need. So the packages that you would need actually are Selenium, Beautiful Soup, as I said before, URL lib.request, OS, and time and requests. So let me just give you a brief rundown of my code. Oh, that is. Nice. Here it is. So, yeah. So essentially, this is VS Code, by the way. Give me a second. I'm just gonna share my entire screen. Sure. All right. You guys seen the code, right? Anyways.
Yes, we're seeing the code.
All right, great. So yeah, as I was saying, these are the packages that I'm using currently. So first things first, I would like to pay a close attention to this exe file. It is based on the browser that I'm using, which is Chrome. I would need a Chrome driver. You can also use Firefox if you wanted to, but in this case, I'm using Chrome. But you have the option to use other browsers. So in essence, I used Selenium, the package Selenium, to actually access the web browser. And through that web browser, I actually access that image URL, which is this, which is...
Javante?
Yeah.
Can you zoom in just a little bit for us?
All right, zooming in. All right, you guys seeing better now? Let me just zoom in again.
All right, great.
All right, so yeah, so the URL. So this is the URL, and it should have taken us to which one? Yeah, it should have taken us to thing there. I don't know why this. All right, let me just copy and paste it real quick. But yeah, the image, it should take us to this site right here, which is the site I'm actually extracting which is the site I'm actually extracting the images from. So not really large. This, here it is actually. A lot better now. So yeah, continuing. So in essence, I'm using a specific website, and I'm going to actually take deconstruct the information on it in order to actually get the information I need, which in this case is the images. So if you see at the top of the first line, in line 17, I have input. This is just to allow me so that the code doesn't run immediately. It would require me to input something first before code runs. This is a function to actually download the images. And in essence, this chunk of code, so this line 27, WD, which is short for WebDriver, that execute, basically allows me to scroll to the bottom of any web page that I'm currently on. In this case, is the URL for the coconuts. So I also have webd.page source, which actually allows me to get the HTML source code. for the particular URL, and the Beautiful Soup convert it into a form that I can that I can understand, and then I can actually use the Beautiful Soup method to actually get all the containers of in this specific class, which would have been gotten from the HTML source code. And then I would actually get the length of containers. So essentially I would need this actual loop to loop this part of the code. So I could go to each container, basically extract the data that I need in order to get the URL for the image, and then to literally just download it using the function I have up here. And you can see all that right here. I have a timeout if needs be, just in case the image takes too long to load. Basically, literally speaking, it literally clicks on each image like a human user and just literally downloads each image given the conditions. It's a very interesting process. So if you want to, so basically it literally runs, and then if you notice in the corner right here, that's where you see my cursor, you notice images are just downloaded in this folder, kev_images. Yeah, I did specify the folder name. And then yeah, so all of these images, and they're all images of coconuts in trees that like I wanted. And then I can just simply, yeah, and I know I'm getting data without me barely doing anything essential, which is the entire point. But what if I wanted to gain images a different way? Say, for example, because web scraping these days are getting a little bit more complicated. But luckily for us, OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT and DALL-E, which is the API that I'm actually going to use today, actually gave us the ability to generate images from a pre-existing data set. So we can actually gain data not only through image scraping, but we can also now gain data from actually generating it from already previous data sets. So we are basically generating synthetic images from existing data sets, and then we can actually use those images in our data set in order to make it more precise, because obviously the more data that you have, the more precise it's going to be. And basically it's literally so easy to do, like not even joking. So basically, literally speaking, as it stands, all I need to do is import. Oh yeah, let me actually show you the packages that I need. Yeah, so the packages that I need is actually OS, again, OpenAI and requests. So, and this is actually the actual code. So you actually need your own API key, and you get that from this web page right here. So you can actually get your custom-made API key, and it's yours alone, which allows you to actually utilize this API to generate image. But you don't have to only generate image. You actually have the ability to actually manipulate images. So like you give them an image, you can add stuff to it, take away stuff, or literally just convert it in something completely different if you want. And this API is pretty cool, like the whole concept of it, and it's very easy to access. The thing is, you would need a paid account to actually utilize its full potential, but that's fine. But yeah, it's literally like roughly like just this. So basically, you give it a prompt and you give it the image size and you're set, and then it produces the URL, but it doesn't download it automatically. So again, the function I used before, which is the download image, I can use it now again to download it, because all I need is a URL, folder name, URL of the image, and then I'm good. And then these are the images that are actually downloaded. Get a sec. So yeah, it generates it like, and you can actually hardly tell some of these are actually generated images. Like they look pretty damn good. If you also notice, I also have XML files, but I'll get into why I have those soon. So moving on. So yeah, this is actually the real-time process of it generating image, because you notice the URLs for the images down here, and then it's actually downloading the images in real time. Funny enough, I actually just put, for the prompt, I just put coconut, so that's why you see these look very different in this video. But yeah, it's essentially a pretty good tool once you utilize it properly. And it's very helpful in even generating more images for your data set, increasing the size of your data set, which is always a good thing. So yeah, key term to keep in mind is expert. Basically, an expert is basically a locator to find web elements on a page. So essentially, it's a very useful tool for web scrapers specifically because it's easy. It makes it so very easy to actually get information from web pages through this means. So that's basically it for data collection. Obviously, there are other means, there are other packages that you can use. You don't have to use Bluetooth if you don't want to. I think there was one called Scrappy, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, there are a lot of more tools out there that you can utilize for collecting data and stuff. So yeah, so now get into the interesting stuff. So image labeling is actually probably the most tedious process of getting any data set properly. So essentially, think about it like this. You're in a room, you have 10 boys, 1 girl. You mentally are you're easily capable of labeling, oh, one of these people are a girl, the 10 rest are boys. That's a very easy thing for you to do. But unfortunately, computers aren't that smart. So it's not really an easy process as saying, oh, because if you get an image with coconuts, like you can't just immediately tell, oh, a coconut's that, you need to actually tell it what coconuts look like. So this is a form of supervised learning. So basically, I'm going to have to teach the coconut how to actually know what a coconut looks like. And that's why I have to annotate the images that I collect. And this usually can range, it depends on the amount of images you have. Because if you have a small amount of images, obviously it's not going to take long to annotate them. But if you have a lot of images, it's going to take hours, maybe even days to annotate images, depending on how large your image data set is. So essentially, all you need is just, the packages that you need is PyQt5 and image label. Good news, there is actually the actual code is actually on, wait, give me a sec. Where is my, okay, great. So yeah, the actual code is actually on GitHub. So like you can actually easily just download the label image pack code and actually just run it. So I'm gonna actually run it right now. Oh, actually I have it open right now. So essentially, how it works is that you essentially take a box. Wait, let me use the other image because yeah, let me just delete this one and actually show you how it's done. All right, wait. So I'm gonna delete this. So essentially, I would create a rectangle box, and then around this box, this is the area that the computer would decide this is a bounding box. So basically, in this, it's decided that in this area there is a coconuts. I'm going to label it and tell it say coconuts. And it doesn't seem like a lot, no, because I'm just doing like roughly like 8 images. Oh, and I also have to save it. It also have to save the image, and it saves the XML file, which is important. So basically, the XML files are literally the file of the labeled image. And obviously, you can see here, this is a coconut. Don't know if you're seeing it, but yeah, I have coconuts, coconut. So you can tell the difference between a group of coconuts and just one singular coconut. So that's the idea. And see it here, just more coconuts, singular coconuts. And remember, this is something that can take hours at a time to do, like if you have like a large enough data set, right? You can actually open up a file. You can even open up a file directly with the images and store them in. In my case, I'm storing in the same place that the generated images are. And that's essentially it for image in terms of image labeling. So remember, I have to actually name this, and you don't need to like specify everything that's in the image. It makes more sense and it's easier in the long run to just specify. If you're looking for coconuts, just say coconuts. If you're looking for, say, like in the example I used before, the group of boys you're looking for a girl, you can just put the box around the girl, leave everything else. Everything else is just fluff, basically. So now so that's basically how you label images in a nutshell. And this is basically me, the entire T of me going through. So this is already labeled images. But yeah, this is me going through the generated images now and labeling all of them individually. And again, it's basically I'm using this to tell the computer, say, hey, these are coconuts. And how the HTML file actually looks. This is how it actually looks, by the way. So it has the annotation, and this is in the form Pascal VOC, I believe, yes, it is. And basically, it basically has some quotation, well, not quotation, but brackets, annotation, and you have the folder. In this case, it's kev_gen, which stands for short for Kev generate the image. Anyways, you have the folder name, which is just the image, which is the image that is being labeled. You have the path of the image, and then you have the source, but that's not really relevant. The size of the images, and remember I was saying I generated 1024 by 1024, like, yeah, this is the set height that I had in the code before. And this is the part that's interesting, that we're concerned with. This is actually where the box that I created, this is registering where the part where the box is. So like the area of the box, essentially. And this is also the name that I gave that box, essentially, which is coconut. So in that box, it's saying that it's literally coconut in that box. There are multiple boxes because obviously I use more than one box on an image sometimes, and it's telling me the name and everything like that. So interestingly enough, we've went through image query, data collection and labeling the images. But let's take a look now at, oh, wrong thing. Wanted to go back, right, it's fine. Yeah, let's go back. So now let's go to, so yeah, XML is basically, it's a format to let you share the, lets you define and share data in a shareable manner. Store data in a shareable manner, sorry. And it's basically usable on websites and stuff like that as well, I believe. Yeah, yes, it is. And again, this is how it looks. And yeah, so now let's take a look now at RoboFlow. The reason why I want to look at RoboFlow is for two reasons. You can actually train your model. So now you do all of the hard stuff now. You get the images, you have, and you label them. So what you do now? Well, you have to go to training it, but there are different ways to train it. And we'll talk about RoboFlow first. So with RoboFlow, it's actually a website you can go on where you can actually label, train, test, augment, and deploy your model. So it essentially is basically like a platform for just all things there. I mean, it has other features as well, but this is one thing that most people know RoboFlow for. And the good thing about RoboFlow is that it's very user-friendly, it's very fast, and it's very easy to deploy the model that you create. And it literally puts it, it's an environment where you can literally just stay there. It basically allows you to not need resources from other applications or any outside sources, from basically image labeling to deployment. So you can literally just use it alone. But the thing about RoboFlow is that, I'll get into that later. But essentially, this is the entire process of me going to RoboFlow. I'm uploading the images as well as the annotated, which is the XML files, which is the labels for the images. And RoboFlow actually can tell the annotated ones from the not annotated one. So in this folder, I didn't annotate all the images, and it actually can able to tell me that I didn't annotate all of them. Even though I didn't annotate it on it, and I can split up the data into train data, valid data, and test. So like 10% of it is test, 70% of it is going to be trained, and it's and basically just to get a more precise model in essence. So now I'm uploading all of that stuff, And then now it's actually giving me ability to label images, because as I said before, I can actually label images and stuff with RoboFlow. But I didn't need to. And yes, I can augment images, meaning I can change how the image look entirely. And this is to also help with more precise models. So essentially, you can either turn up the brightness, turn it down, turn up the exposure, grayscale. It all depends on the images. You can take out stuff, you can rotate the image, add exposure to a specific part, all these things like within the bounding box, I should say. You can turn the hue, add noise, all these things, can even add blurs. Like it's a good chunk of stuff you can do with it. So now I'm actually going to use RoboFlow to train the model, which is very helpful because now I can just simply train it. I can also use something called, I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, you also can export the data set that you have, meaning the current data set that it currently has. It can train the data set for you, but you can also export it as either a YOLO data set or TensorFlow TF records. It really doesn't matter. You have the options. And I'm going to stick a pin in that because that's gonna be helpful for the next topic after this. But yeah, but in this video, I'm basically just training the model. And I'm not gonna select a format. And yeah, when I was training the model, it actually is giving me, because it's not a paid version, I only have one option, which is MS Coco. And it tells me the version, which is the best version of it, which is V7. So it's MS Coco V7, that's the model that's going to be created. So, and then I just simply start trading. And then it's extrusion. So yeah, this is also an interesting thing. Image training can actually even last as small as 10 minutes or 24 hours, or as long as 24 hours, even longer than that. I remember one time I was trading models for coconuts. It took me two to 3 days to finish it in its entirety. It was quite an interesting process. But when it was done, like the precision of the model was great and stuff. So really and truly, with certain models, it's a give and take situation. Even though RoboFlow is fast, it's not very precise. So you're literally trading something in order to gain something in essence. So that's something you have to take into account when you're doing creating models. So right. So now it's gonna train it. I just speed it up. This entire process was like roughly half an hour. That's because it's not really a large model. I mean, it was roughly 400 images, but in the grand scheme, I think 20-30 minutes is pretty fast. And yeah, I actually tried the model. Yeah, as you can see, like, yeah, it's actually detecting the door as a coconut. I don't know why. Like, that was a very funny thing because, like, obviously that's not a coconut. And then, like, it's detecting me as coconuts. But like, once I got an image of a coconut, you could easily detect it. And as I said, this is one of the caveats of fast models. They're not as precise. As I said, it's a give and take situation. You need to take into account what you're willing to give up in order to get to your model. So if you want a fast model, you're giving up a lot of precision, depending on how you utilize it. But yeah, RoboFlow. So the thing about RoboFlow, so model creation, so the thing about RoboFlow is while it's very user-friendly, there's one thing. You cannot, at least not in the free version, you cannot actually get the model itself. So even though you can train the model and deploy it, you're not actually going to get the model itself. What you can get though is the data set. So if you can export the data set from RoboFlow, no matter what, you can always do that, and that's an option, and they're very kind to do that, because now it neatly leads me into my next topic. So basically, training a model is using data to teach a machine learning algorithm to predict the outcome you design. So essentially, I want it to be able to predict what a coconut is. and basically know what a coconut is and how, and like if I were to deploy it and say create a camera, once the camera go up on the coconut, the feedback gives me say, oh, this is put a bounding box around it and say, hey, I just detected that camera or something like that. You can do that. So yes, RoboFlow is a very useful site. But obviously there's some limitation, especially if you're not using a paid account. So, but what if you can get basically most of the features them and have the freedom to do what you want without paying money? That's where Google Colab comes in now. So in Google Colab, you don't have like you can't you can't immediately label images as easy as you could in RoboFlow, but you can train, test, augment, and deploy just the same. And the best part is you can get the data set, you can get the model from after you trained it and do what you will, essentially. So you wouldn't have to go through the process of using RoboFlow to do all of that. So the pros of Google Colab is that it has cloud storage, it has pre-installed libraries, meaning that you wouldn't have to go through the process of like for the previous code I was using, like the image grep and all of that stuff. You wouldn't have to do all of that with Google Colab. You would need a very fast GPU, by the way, for in order to make the most out of Google Colab. So like if you have a really bad GPU, it's not gonna really be the best experience. But what I will say is that it's very useful and it's very good. It's very like if you're a coder, it's just right for you. So and it also has a GitHub integration. Easy GitHub integration at that. So like you can share code, and most of the code that I used when it comes to creating models are actually from Google, actually from other people, and I take some inspiration from them. So like that's a very useful thing with Google Colab. So the models that you can create, well, there are different types of models. So you have the YOLO, you have different types of YOLO models. You have SSD model.net, you have faster R. Oh yeah. Other fact that Google Colab has GPUs as well. I was kind of forgot to mention, but anyways, the efficient DET. So I've used most of these models. I've never used faster R, CNN, but I've used and interacted with most of these models. So let me actually just take you to a Google. So yeah, as I was saying before, I'm going to take you through this process. This was actually the Google Colab that I used to actually train the model that I have. I'm going to show you how the model looks at the end of it. So essentially, I'm going to take you through it line by line. So essentially, this is to actually get the model thingy for TensorFlow models from the TensorFlow GitHub. So most of the stuff that you need to actually utilize for TensorFlow are in this, and then you can actually install the dependencies and stuff that is needed, and then you can actually import those dependencies here, and then you create a model builder, and this is to create a TensorFlow model. Yeah, and this is also actually to create the bounding boxes as well. This is this part. So it says prepare to object detection training data. So essentially, you can actually go on get it off RoboFlow, like I was mentioning before. So if I were to go on RoboFlow right now, where is it? Or to go on RoboFlow right now, I can actually extract the data, and I have the option to either do it as I said before, YOLO v4, PyTorch, YOLO v5, YOLO v7 if I wanted the YOLO v8. But the one that I wanted was TensorFlow TF records, and if I click on that, I can either download it as a zip folder, or I can actually just get this stuff, and now I have an API key, everything, and I have to use this in the. Yeah, I could actually use this in the Google Colab as well if I wanted to. So it's a very long and tedious process actually to train your data, but we'll get into that soon enough. Looking for, okay, back to what I was doing. So essentially I could actually use this. So this entire code that's commented out is actually helping me to create the TF record. But I don't actually need that. Actually, because well, right now, as it stands, I did have TF records at the time. I can actually connect to my current Google Drive that I have if I wanted to connect to Google Drive. This is the one I'm using. And then I could actually just access all my drive folders within Google Colab just like that. If and then just it usually takes a while, depends on your internet speed. You also have I have different types of stuff in the TF records. So you have TF records for test images and you have TF records for train images. And I have the label maps. So basically, it's essentially like a almost like a TXT file, which can essentially tells you which gives a number and the name of the image. So like how you annotate it, so like it can tell, say, oh, in this model, it's coconut and coconuts. Those are the two that I'm using. So that's basically what that is in essence. So before I actually even train the model, actually in TensorFlow, I would actually need to configure the model config. So as I mentioned, if efficient DET, you have -D0, -D1, -D2, -D3. All of these have different use cases. If I want to go fast and loose, can use D0, but obviously I would lose a lot of precision with that. D1, obviously it's a little slower, but it's a lot more precise than D0. D2 is the exact same thing, and D3 is obviously the most precise at the cost of speed. But I would say D2 is the way to go because it's literally like a healthy medium between all of them. Like D1 and D0 are kind of, we kind of still want the precision at the end of the day. Precision, in all honesty, precision is what matters most, in my opinion, when it comes to training your models. So like the more data that you have, the more precise your model, the better it is for you in the long run. So also, you also have something called the batch size. So in essence, the batch size is very important actually. So the batch size in essence is the amount of images that are going to get processed in the detection cycle while it's being trained, in essence. So while it's being trained, like it will send like 16 images at a time in this case. So the batch size is 16, but you don't want a very large batch size because that would actually lead to a detriment to the overall process. Usually what I've found is that usually 4 is a good batch size number. 4 or 8 sometimes, it depends. I've used, I think the last time, I think it was a D2, the D2 that I was using to detect coconut trees. And it actually worked very well with batch size 4. And as I said, that's the best one in my opinion to use. So essentially, so also something also to keep in note is the number of steps. So basically, in essence, the more steps you do is the longer the process it's gonna take. So like if I were to say, so think about it like this, is basically how long it lasts for. It's basically like keeping it going until it reach 60,000 steps. Like think about you walking for long periods of time. And like you're walking 60,000 steps, something like that. Basically that. Think about it like that in a sense. So you're continuing until you've reached a certain goal. That's what that is for. And usually you can increase the step size because if in cases where your loss is getting lower. What is loss? So it's in essence, loss is basically the difference between the prediction and the actual true value. So meaning that if the difference between those two values are less that means that it's close, like the data is closer together, meaning that the prediction is very close to the actual truth, and if the closer it is, obviously the more precise it is, right? And basically that's what most of that is for. So as I said, this is a good model to use, the efficient DET-D2. That's the best one to use in my opinion. And then you can actually start unpacking it, getting the config for the model, right? And then you basically can start training it. And so yeah, this is the code that actually start training it. And some information you can see, say you have loss rate, and the learn rate. Basically the kind of self-explanatory in essence, it's almost literally how quickly it can gravitate to certain data, like how fast can it like say, okay, this is that blah blah blah, how quickly does it learn. You don't want the learn rate to be too much, because if learn rate too much, then the loss rate, it will affect the loss rate negatively, and it basically would allow if the learn rate is too high, if I'm not mistaken, it would be a case where like the loss would actually be bouncing back between two set of values, and it would be it would in a continuous loop. So the loss rate wouldn't decrease or increase or anything. It would just stay fluctuate between a certain point, which is something that you wouldn't want. In fact, that's not very good. And as you can see, when I was running this, like you can see right here, the loss rate is getting lower. Sometimes it goes back up, that's fine for the most part, as long as it doesn't like continuously goes back up. And this is like, yeah, this is 40,000 steps. And you also have checkpoints in this, meaning that basically like a save point. So like say, for example, it basically has a save point and can store the save point at most points where like, say, for example, and this is why you need to connect to Google. One of the reasons why you probably should connect to Google Drive. Say, for example, one of the caveats to Google Colab, like say, for example, you get timed out of a session and you would have to restart. Like literally if you can't, sometimes you can't save the data. It depends on what version of Google Colab. This is the pro version, so that's fine. But say you didn't have the pro version. If you get timed out of a session and all the files lost, right? Basically you track your lost track of your progress, and like you have to start and say 24 hours in training a model, and like you reach on the last day and then boops, all the data gone because you didn't save it. That's one of the reasons why it's good to like just save it in Google Drive directly through Google Colab. So like you'll always have the checkpoint to continue from the point where you left off, in essence. So that's one of the nice things about it. And yeah, as you can see, this was going on for a while. Like this is 60,000 steps. So this took a while to accomplish. But the good thing, even though it took a while to do, the great thing about it is I got more precise results, and my model is very looking nice and cool. Like see the loss rate now. You can see the graph now going down drastically. I think I kept it to like roughly 40,000. I didn't go all the way to 60. And then yeah, the final thing is you can actually test the model if you want, if you so choose. So the model, so after you save the model, you can actually use it. And the way how the model support, and the way it works is that you can essentially just literally in this code, like a literal can just say, hey, you get a bunch of images at random, send them in. I would suggest that method because you want to see like how dynamic it is, and obviously you wouldn't want to use the data set. You wouldn't want to use test images that were within the data set, right? Because that would be redundant. It basically would only be, so like it would basically only know if it detect images within the data set.
Man, can you shut the fuck up?
Sorry. Anyways, so in essence, so long story short, you can think there. You can actually, it's better to just think they use images that are outside of the bounds of the data set.
I don't understand. I'm sorry. I don't.
because because it makes it more viable that your model is very usable in real applications. So I'm gonna show you how the model looks. At the end of the day, you're supposed to get something that looks like this. And then wait, I can't. Let me just download this real quick. Go to download, go to my folder, and then I'll just show you how it looks. Yeah. Open up with Notepad, always. So yeah, this is how the label map looks. So you have the name, you have the ID, and you have the display name, which is in this case coconut. You don't need the display name. In fact, you don't even need to put commas. You can actually have it like this. I remember one time I was trying to use a label map on another model with the label map looking like this that I currently have it as, and it wasn't working. And all I had to do was just simply change it out. So these are things to keep in mind when working with data sets, working with different models, because working with different models yield different results. You also have something called TF Lite. From what I've read, so yeah, TF Lite, basically in essence, from what I've read, I've noticed that when it comes to deployment of models, it's better to have it in some form of version of TF, your model in some form of version of TF Lite, or coming from a variation of TF Lite, because TF Lite is a neural network. And it's literally the best way one of the better ways to deploy your model. So you can also do that in YOLO V7 as well. YOLO V7 is basically is very fast. That's one of the thing there. That's one of the benefits of using YOLO V7 actually. And TF Lite basically kind of reflects that as well. So if you don't want to use if you don't want to use YOLO V7 for some reason, you can also use TF Lite. So again, this is a code that's literally on the internet. Like if you can literally can just run everything here, and like you yield some very impressive results. So like basically it's like notice, so it's very similar. I get the TF Lite models git code, and basically do the same thing, get all the download all the packages, import, and then I can download this pre-trained model. So it actually has a model already. And then I can simply convert it to TF Lite. And then that TF Lite model can be used in the form SSD model node, which is one of the models I was making reference to before. Interesting fact, Jetsons actually use that model quite a lot actually. But you can also use
I understand what you
so you can actually use I
understand where you're going though. Can you please stop fucking touching me, Blackie?
So I'm sorry. But yeah, essentially, yeah, that actually leads me into my last point. So yeah, some of the terminology that I've used was batch size, loss function, and learn rate. So basically, those are some terminologies to look for when working with models. As I said, Google Colab is a very useful tool in order to actually gain a lot of knowledge, because a lot of people are sharing their code. It's a very interactive environment. Most of the codes that I've used it through Google Colab. I used it well. It's worked out a lot for me in the past. There's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to utilize them if you're not sure. If you're familiar with Python, you can really get into stuff like this. So anyways, my final point is, yeah, I wanted to actually talk about how I use a Jetson Nano. So basically, a Jetson Nano is a very small, powerful computer designed for entry-level edge AI applications on devices. So with the Jetson Nano, there's a lot of things you can do with it. You can actually run it. I think it uses a form of Linux. I think it's very similar to the Raspberry Pi. If most people are not familiar with Jetson, Raspberry Pi is a very good example of that also. The Jetson is a more powerful version of that. I've worked with a Jetson before. So the Jetson, in essence, I used it to actually, so in this video, actually, I used it to actually use a SSD model net. I think it was V2, yeah, it was V2. And it actually was able to detect me as a person. So like it basically was able to detect person through the camera that I added, which was this little camera that I have in my hand. So I could also use something called a Raspberry Pi cam. A Pi cam, yeah, that's what it's called. But I don't have an image of it, unfortunately. But yeah, this camera that I do have right here, it's very useful. It's connected via USB. And also something to note, depending on the amount of images you're detecting at a time, it actually can affect the frame rate of the video. Speaking of frame rate, actually, there's actually, even though I didn't use it for the Jetson specifically, you can actually use this OpenCV package. In essence, all that does is essentially allow you to basically process images, a bunch of images. So like basically process videos, images, and actually display them on your monitor and stuff like that. So basically, and you can manipulate those videos. Because remember, at the end of the day, and you can actually use it for detection models as well. Because remember, at the end of the day, a video is just a bunch of pictures just coming together and just moving fast. But we perceive that those pictures as going in motion. So I think I have it. Hopefully I have it up already. If I don't, I'll just open it. That's fine. Oh, that had it open already. All right, that's fine. I'll just open recent. Oh, it's not here. Oh my. Open. But I do have code for it. Let me just see if I can just go in my drawer. Extract the folder real quick if I didn't already. Okay, let me just go. Detection. Okay, here it is. I'm gonna open this with Visual Code always. Should see it come up now. But yeah, I was actually trying to implement a model using this. And something that's very annoying about these things is the package requirement. Sometimes you will have good working code, but the package is just not given. Like those are cases where stuff like that. So you have to be very careful because these packages don't work with the current version of Python. I have a current version of Python that I'm using, which is 3.0, 3.9. I think it works with 3.11 if I'm not mistaken. And this was code that I run on my Linux system. In essence, basically what it's supposed to do is basically use a detection model, and all of this code right here is literally creating the bounding box for it. And then I was able to, what should have happened was basically you open up a CV camera. So this basically open up the webcam, and basically it's using that information, and it's going to display not just the image, my face only, but it would actually put a bounding box around the image when it detects it. So in essence, all it would do is essentially, it would basically create the bounding box for the image frames. And remember, as I was saying, a video is literally just a bunch of images moving very fast, and we perceive it as one swift motion. So that's basically it for my presentation. I'm open to questions. If there's something that want me to go over, something you want to ask, I'm free to hear. So just go for it if you like.
Okay, so I guess we have a comment already in the chat saying Jetson Nano has pre-built projects for automatically detecting objects, and the Jetson Nano kit comes with a camera and screen as well. Are you familiar with this Jetson Nano pack?
So essentially, with the Jetson, first question, yeah, in actuality, it doesn't, well, you can actually, the model that I use was actually pre-made and everything. So like the packages, but the packages I had to actually install them. The code, I got it, yeah, I got it online as well. So most of the stuff, as I said, there's a lot of resources for that. And as for the camera, no, it didn't come with a Jetson. And the screen, no, it didn't. That was a monitor. So basically, I can connect a HDMI cable and connect a monitor to a Jetson. So you would actually require that as well. And you also require a power source. It can be USB or a jack. The cool thing about a Jetson is, and one of the cool things about Jetson, and this was for something that I worked on. Unfortunately, I didn't video it. I actually did. Oh, there is a kit that comes with the camera and screen. Oh, there probably is actually. I'm not. Yeah, but what I used was the monitor. But yeah, that's pretty cool actually. Oh, nice. Oh, okay, nice. That's pretty good information. I'll look into that actually. Like I didn't know it was relatively that cheap. But as I was saying, so yeah, one of the projects that I worked on with a Jetson Nano was actually, I used the Jetson, so the same model that I showed you before, I actually created a code that allows the camera, when it detects an object, it actually uses a server that's connected to Arduino, right? And the Arduino is connected to the Jetson, so the Jetson sends information to the Arduino, and essentially what it does is like it makes the server spin to center on that image. So basically the idea is that to look at the image, so relative to the camera's position, it will actually center the image, so like it will be focused on that image specifically. And that's one of the use cases that I use the Jetson, like not an immediate use case, because like who would have thought of doing something like that, really and truly. But like that's just going to show you, like with a Jetson, like a lot of things are possible. You know, it's very useful in especially in the world of robotics. That's kind of why I like it so much personally. The Jetson was a very interesting tool to work with for me personally. What I will say is that it's very expensive. But there are better versions of it also very expensive. But I guess one thing you can look into, because I started out very small. I started out using Arduino first, and then I moved up to Raspberry Pi, and then all of a sudden I was working on Jetson. So, in terms of scale, like the difference between just using an Arduino and using a Jetson is like vastly different. It's like a whole different experience. But even then, I was able to still integrate my knowledge of Arduino within this scope of using a Jetson Nano. So the Jetson is a very useful tool in my opinion. I would recommend, if you like, look into these things, because AI in the realm of robotics is a very interesting world. You know, like AI and robotics go hand in hand, really and truly, which is why I'm so interested in it in the first place, personally. But yeah, anybody has any other questions or anything like that? Let me check in the chat.
All right, Oshin, any questions from your side on YouTube?
No question on YouTube. Most of them are comments, and most of the comments are repeated in the Zoom chat. However, I do want to ask, earlier when the junior presentation, we saw, for example, the coconut and the door where the system mislabeled or identified the door as a coconut. What are like measures that you could take to like reduce those errors or mishaps? The reason why I'm asking is because back in 2020, I believe I was using a particular system that I was testing out an annotation tool that Amazon uses. and their AI should have like annotate a lot of images, as well as filter out images that are not suitable for like the data set. Say for example, categorize the images in coconuts, banana, and so forth, and then annotators a manual go in, draw like polygons to annotate the exact shape or so forth. But we saw like some inappropriate images showing up in the data set, as well as incorrect images. So like what measures do you tend to take to reduce those type of errors?
All right, so to answer that question, it's actually a combination of a lot of different things. So one thing I can do is raise the throttle, but what I tend to do personally is I usually threshold, raise the threshold. Sorry, Jesus, I don't know what the heck I was reading about. So basically that's one of the methods. But one other method is actually increasing your data set, which usually is the longer route. But I would say, as I said, on the basis of any data of any model, your data is very important. Like it's the most important thing, because really and truly, I remember labeling 1,000 images, and even that wasn't sufficient. I had to scrap most of those images, and some of them like just didn't make it any better. What I did notice was what helped the most was actually changing the model, like the model. As I said, with different models that I use, it's a give and take situation. As I said, there's a reason why I did emphasize why I like the efficient DET version, MobileNet the efficient DET D2, because it was actually the one that produced the best results out of all of them. And it didn't cost me much reduced in speed, which was the kind of selling point, because but really and truly, it all depends on your model. That's a very big factor as well. So what I will say is the two main things to look out for, in my opinion, is the amount of data that you use, how you label your data, because you have to label your data them properly as well. And the other main thing is your model that you use. In my case, as I said, the best model that I use for me personally was the efficient DET D2. That's worked for me, and that's basically what the best model, in my opinion, to use in my case, because that worked for me. And I got a lot of precise results with that. And also, in order to test how well your model is, as I said before, use outside images. It's like use outside images to see how precise a model is, to basically get a gauge, because you can't, as I said, you can't use your model, you can't use test images within your data set, because it would make it won't give like a idea of how precise a model is in the grand scheme of things. It's very much able to detect models within its data set. How well can it do with a new image? Which is another good thing about the OpenAI, because you can actually just generate more images as well. No, these days. So that's also other alternative. So as I said, increase the data and pay close attention to your model.
Okay. And that makes sense, because if it is that you give the model more valid information, you're training it, right?
Yeah, in essence.
Right, great. So we have another question. This is actually now question into getting a little bit more into you. So what was it like participating in Dubai?
So it was actually a very once in a lifetime type of experience, because not everybody really get to do stuff like that. it was actually pretty funny because like honestly, like I wasn't at the time, I wasn't even thinking about going, but I was just participating in the. It was actually a chance encounter actually with some people. My teacher from San Diego recommended me to some people, as well as some other kids from other schools, and we participated in this. Basically, we were helping preparing for the competition, and based on our performance and preparing for the competition, we would actually go. I was, I remember when I got picked, because I got picked like my name came last. So like when I saw person number 7, you know, and then I didn't see my name, was like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting picked. And then like I was literally the last person that name that came up, and I was there like, Jesus, thank you, Lord. But the experience itself, like it was a very good learning experience. It was a very good learning experience. I don't have any pictures on my laptop, unfortunately, but what I will say is like let me just talk about the competition itself. So basically it was a competition where each competition has a theme, you know. The theme I believe was basically promoting the idea of cleaning the ocean. So basically I had this thing where I had to basically pick up debris and move them around using a robotics kit that they asked you to use. It's a very interesting process. You had to use automation. You even had to use TensorFlow. Actually, you had autonomous mode where you actually had to use image modeling. At the time, I didn't know much about AI. You know, so it was quite coming to you know and learning that stuff was quite interesting. But in terms of like experience, the food was very good there. Like, you know, like it was quite a different type of feeling. But like honestly, I don't know how, but somehow we found a Jamaican restaurant in Dubai, and we went there as we're there literally like millions of miles, thousands of miles away from Jamaica, and we still find a Jamaican restaurant to go to eat Jamaican food. So overall, to encapsulate the experience is like kind of hard, because like one word can't really use to describe, because like as I said, it's a once in a lifetime type of experience. Like, you know, like you don't get to say, oh, I went to Dubai at age 16 or so. Like it was magical. Saw the Burj Khalifa, like for a country boy, that was like bro. And then I first time in my entire life, like I went on a roof pool and all these things. Like it was crazy. Like it was a crazy experience. But I learned a lot, and it was quite interesting. And one of the main takeaways I got from that experience is that there's a lot of talented youth out there. Which is why I always try to not confine myself to the idea that, oh, AI is for this country, because I've seen countries where I never know existed that participate in robotics, which is why I like the idea of AI in Jamaica, because like it goes to show you that we as a people are just as capable as anybody else. And you know, and that's one of the main reasons why I like what I liked about the competition. It was a very humbling experience, because I got to meet all these people that I felt were smarter than me, you know, were doing like they had some massively not good robots. Like it taught me that like Jamaica is like not the only country out there, and you know, but even with that being said, like we're just as good as they are, because you know we participated, and we won a medal. I think, yeah, we did win a medal and stuff. You know, like it gives you perspective on it gave me a lot of perspective on where I was in life. You know, it basically cemented in my head that this is the field that I want to go in for the rest of my life. This is what I want to do with my life. This is what I need to do with my life. Like there was no other option. Like I had to do something robotics, have to do robotics, have to do computer science, have to do it. Just anything technology related is just me, because like I find it so interesting, and I want to be a part of that new innovative milestone in Jamaica's history, where AI basically propel our country into a different type of era where everybody is, you know, living their truth, living their best life and stuff like that, through technology and stuff and people learning, which is why I think it's very important to explore the application of AI, because again, even in something as early as 16, I was dealing with AI related stuff. And like, again, like it's like the application of AI is just so interesting because it can be used literally in everything, literally everywhere. And the blow up of ChatGPT and all these things, it's quite interesting to see the scope of things, when it comes to AI and stuff. But yeah, as I said, the experience in Dubai pretty damn good, like once in a lifetime type thing. So
Great. Great. We are completely there with you. Recognize what a great impact it has had on your life. We have another question from YouTube, and this one says, in terms of your skills, from FGC to present date, how have you been increasing your skills?
So basically, right, I don't know. This is kind of funny, but me actually label my skills in terms of like gaming levels. So like right now, I feel like I feel like the end goal is level 50 or level 100 basically. I feel like I'm at a level 3, 4, level 10 maybe ish on a good day. But what I will say is like the way how I increase my skills, like what have I done? I'm trying to do a lot more math, believe it or not. The reason being is because I want to be able to think critically. Like I don't want to just be somebody that can code. I want to be somebody that can think like on their feet. I want to not be I don't classify myself as a programmer. I want to classify myself as a problem solver. I want to solve issues because I like the idea of thinking critically about certain problems, which is kind of why I like coding, because it does contain a lot of critical thinking aspects, if you want to reach a certain level, because when I was in high school, my skill set was just basically like I just did what I could. Like I felt like a fish out of water every time when I was doing robotics when I just started out, and I genuinely would say that was probably the best thing that I ever did. That was probably the best experience, because feeling like I didn't know anything, like I knew I was at the right place, because I know I can actually learn something from here. If I felt like I was the the smartest guy in the room, I felt like I was in the wrong room, So what I will say is that what I did to increase my skill set, I try to be around people that are smarter than me, like all the time. And I focus on my critical thinking skills, because while it sounds cliche, but like it's really true, like thinking about how to solve problems, like it will actually make you a better programmer, which is why I'm trying to trying to do more math, because math helps with critical thinking. They said this in high school, which is true, like, and especially with the course I'm doing, like I need a lot of math in my life right now. Like the growth that I've had was just through trials and tribulations of me coding, thinking of ways to solve issues and growing from them, because certain things that I'm capable of doing now, 5 years ago, I couldn't even imagine myself doing these things. But I took my time, and it took a lot of practice, took a lot of patience, a lot of tears. But it put me in a position where at the end of it all, at the end of that entire process, I was able to fully understand my placement in life, where like at the point where like I'm always thinking of ways to solve problems, like when something not go my way, because even recently, certain things, like when I had some coding issues with something, like I don't say, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this somewhere. You know what I usually do when I realize another good thing, like when I realize I can't solve a coding problem and I'm tired, you know what I do? I sleep. Like I literally just go to bed. Like, and the reason for that is I'm not gonna get any work done if I'm tired and I'm not coming to a solution. So really and truly, like, don't, which brings me to our next point, don't beat yourself up over things you can't control. Like, don't tire yourself out trying to figure out something or trying to solve problem, because that won't help you improve as much as you think it will, because overexertion is just as bad as not exerting yourself at all. So, like, what I will say is just keep at your own pace, try and do your best. Don't be afraid to to be the dumbest guy in the room. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to not feel smart sometimes. I remember back in high school, like, when I'm around some of my friends and them I talk about certain things, I'm just like, damn, I ain't really got this like I thought, Remember one time when I was doing C-Sec and seeing everybody talk about exam questions. I remember one time I saw there was this girl that passed that talk about your questions. I'm gonna start crying because I'm saying, like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But yeah, like, it's okay to not feel, to not understand certain things. So just keep that in mind when going about certain things in life.
All right, so let me summarize. Keep pushing, okay? So, I mean, he spoke about
Yeah.
tears and all, but the reality is that we're problem solvers and we're going to be solving some problems, whether it is some internal issues, but we're going to keep pushing, we're going to keep growing. So knowledge is out there. Persons are out there to, get connected, get involved. And this is essentially a good place to be with us here at Jamaican Developers Community. And of course, Jamaica Artificial Intelligence Association, along with the many other communities that are out there within Jamaica. And with that being said, how, if it is that we'd want to reach you, do you want to share any ways that we can reach you?
Oh yes, actually I do have. So so basically this is my contact info if you want to reach me by number or you want to reach me by WhatsApp, Instagram. You can screenshot this if you want. Also, my LinkedIn is just my name. You can just search it up. My GitHub is KK Brown 123. I have most of the codes that I've shown in this video, in this presentation. That's where you can find some of them. Yeah, so that's basically it for my contact info. And again, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity and really appreciate presenting to y'all what I've learned over the years.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna now take over for a bit. All right, so we've passed the question and answer section, and now it's time to let you guys know a little bit more about the AI hackathon that is coming up. It's so just as how Kevaton Brown was given an opportunity to share his skills and his talents in robotics that took him all the way to Dubai. We're not taking you to Dubai with this AI hackathon event coming up, but this is an opportunity for you to showcase your skills. All right. And the date is here, the September 23rd. We'll be starting at 9 a.m. There's a sign-up sheet available for you to sign up to register, form your teams from before. So because essentially we can't allow everyone to participate in the event, unfortunately, because of numbers and logistics. So if it is that you want to secure your spot, sign up. Matthew, are you on?
Yeah, I'm on.
Matthew? Okay, great.
Yeah, I
Anything
want to encourage. Yeah, I really want to encourage everybody to enter this hackathon if you can. It's a really big opportunity. We're hoping to have a government minister there and some other noteworthy people from the tech community. So there will be eyes on this hackathon. So it's like if you have some great idea that you think AI can be used to solve some major problem in the country and you want some attention on that idea, I would definitely recommend you into this hackathon. So it's on Saturday, September 23rd. It's not a sleepover hackathon, so if you're worried about that, it's not just a one-day hackathon. So from the morning straight to the evening. At the end, you essentially just pitch whatever idea you have, and the judges will judge And of course, it's not just a hackathon for free, guys. There's actually cash prizes. So more details on what exactly that cash prize will be, but you can literally win money. So I'd say sign up as quickly as possible so that you don't, so you can get a space. It's team size of 3 to 4. So, get some people together, form a team, and, possibly win some cash. Not only that, see it as an opportunity to really put your skills to the test, possibly come up with a solution that utilizes AI for Jamaica. And I hope Kevante's presentation was a perfect example of you don't necessarily need to be some genius, or you don't necessarily need to be in this field for 10, 20 years to do anything interesting. I mean, Kevante is just 19 years old and he's doing all that. So it really just comes down to, a little bit of effort and interest. And that's kind of part of why we had these workshops to kind of expose you guys as to what's possible. As you see, a lot of the things that are being done, it's really things that you can find easily with a Google search. We're just making that a lot easier for you with these workshops. So we'll be actually having mentors from the JIA on the hackathon. So if you're not sure what tool, what APIs you could possibly use to implement your solution, you could ask our mentors. So really and truly, if all you have is an idea, you can still come to the hackathon. You can talk with our mentors, really, give you a clue as to what API or what tools you can use, and you can present that at the hackathon. Talk about how you possibly implement your solution. But yeah, once you sign up for the hackathon, more details on that would be sent to your emails. But yeah, please do sign up. It's a big opportunity. Yeah, I just want to say again, good job to Kevante for that presentation. Yeah, it just shows you that it doesn't matter the age, any of you can get into this AI thing. It's a really important field to get into right now. I think that's it from myself.
Okay. Thank you very much, Matthew. And if it's possible, you could also just drop the sign up link in the chat for me, Matthew, just so for those.
Yeah.
So we do have the QR code there for you to scan, but for those persons who still not had not gotten a chance to step up with the technology and can scan, always just check out the chat. And of course, we've also dropped in the chat links to how you can join the different communities, the Jamaica developers community, and I'm sure Matthew is also going to be dropping the Jamaica Artificial Intelligence Association community link in the chat as well for you guys to join, because it's essentially giving you an opportunity to rub your shoulders with some of the brightest, some of the most adventurous persons out there, pushing the boundaries, growing together. Because if it is you want to go fast, you go by yourself. You can go really fast. But you see, if you want to go far, it's best to go with a group. So you see, when you fall, someone is going to be there to pick you up, and that's what the community is all about: growing together and doing collaborations. So get involved, guys. Get involved. And of course, we've already started giving a shout out to our sponsors, but one of them that we didn't mention would have been Assume. So yes, we have the Jamaica Artificial Intelligence Association, Assume, Caribbean Tech Connect, Jamaica Developers Community. Yes, we definitely want to give a big thank you to all our sponsors for making this possible, and of course you guys for coming out, learning, and sharing with us. And of course, a very big thank you to our speaker, Kevante Brown, all of 19 years old, been to Dubai, competed, creating solutions to solve problems. That's what we're about. There are many problems out there. Let's not add problems. Let's not, make the situation worse and we're cuss and would just be miserable. No, let's solve problems. Let's make Jamaica a better place. Let's make the Caribbean a better place. Let's change the world. And of course, this is how you can get in contact with us. We have our email here. If it is that you'd want to know more about some training activities and some events, you can always follow or meet up and get meetup or link to our meetup site where you can be connected with us on a more deeper level, so be aware of all that is happening. And of course, we do talk about jobs, new tech developments. One of the things that we were actually looking at come this week actually was how they use AI in a coffee in a coffee shop, where it was check in to see how much coffee each person made, who was being efficient and that kind of thing. So AI is here, guys. It's an opportunity for you to learn, grow, and we're happy that you've joined in on the fun. And with
Yeah, I
that,
dropped the link to the hackathon in the chat.
yes, the sign up form. Yes, we're seeing that.
Yeah.
And all right. So, and of course, the link there for the meetup for the Jamaican developers community. And we're seeing the form. Excellent. So, guys, if there are no other questions that you'd want to, just verbally speak out now, you can always reach out to us via email, as we said before, and happy to have you. Do get some rest, get some food if you haven't had any, and hopefully we'll see you next week for our final workshop, which is going to lead us up now to the AI hackathon on the 23rd. So next week is our final workshop on this series. But of course, we're going to be having more exciting events for you guys to learn and grow with us in the future. Blessings, guys.